Hey, good morning. Welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am Pastor Joe Fox. Y'all heard of the Serenity prayer? I think it goes something like, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I was thinking today that ties in kind of nicely with the OODA loop. The OODA loop designed by Colonel somebody, John maybe, Boyd. He was a fighter pilot, and he was talking about how to, fighter pilots talk like this, right, with their hands. How to get inside the OODA loop of an enemy fighter, and therefore act quicker, better, more efficiently, and win. Well, the OODA loop applies to life in many things. I teach it a lot in self-defense classes, specifically women's self-defense classes. And OODA is O-O-D-A. It's a lot deeper than what I'm going to go into today, but it stands for Observe, Orient, Decide, Act. And the basic concept is when this bad guy is getting ready to assault you, before you can act, take some action, typically fight or flee, you have to first, and in order, observe, then orient, then decide, then and only then can you act. And so understanding the process and techniques to short circuit that process lets you act faster. How does fighter pilot theory, self-defense theory fit in with the Serenity prayer, Pastor Joe? Well, the end of the Serenity prayers is the wisdom to know the difference between the things you can change and the things you can't. That means you have to recognize those things for what they are, right? And so you have to observe them. Then you have to orient, and that is where most people fail. And that's where one needs the wisdom to know the difference. Orient means you have to, after observing something, understand it. Observe it, see it for what it is, not what you want it to be, or think it could be, or wish it would be. That's the orient. Only after one is properly oriented can one take the correct decision and then act. Which brings us to this great nation. I was raised during the Cold War. And then as a young adult, with America in a almost unipolar world, only the USA was the top dog. Interesting time. Proud to be an American. Served our nation for a little over 20 years. Actually, a lot over 20 years if you add up the different things I did, but I was thinking of the military. I'm the product of parents who went to high school in the 50s. That iconic time of bobby socks and convertibles and, flag-waving American patriots, right? I believe this is the time that Trump, in his mind, tries to hearken back to when he says, make America great again, back there in the 50s. And then in the 60s and early 70s, we started losing it, man, right, as a nation, with the hippies and the protesters, and we had the racial problems, and they were problems, meaning they needed to be addressed. But it was tearing apart the fabric of the country. We had a brief resurgence under Reagan in the 80s, but really since the 60s, it's been going downhill. And they are winning. And one of the Soviets said they would destroy us from within. And I got to tell you, they have to be behind some of this stuff. Our enemies have to be behind some of this nonsense that's going on. But Rob made a post recently where he said something along the lines of he felt bad because he hadn't done anything to protect his country. And, you know, you have, PJ, but how many men here have done something, you know, expressing disgust with the way things are going, and sadness or shame for not doing anything about it. With the overall theme I picked up on, Make America Great Again. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I have mentioned over and over and over Sir John Glubb, Fate of Empires. If you Google it, you can read the PDF. It's like 29 pages. Man, I think he had a point. We're done. I don't say that happily and with glee. You know what? I want to be, all things equal, I get to pick. I want to be the strongest and most untouchable nation standing for freedom and democracy in the world. And I want my great-grandchildren to go to sleep at night with not a fear in their little heads. It's not what's going to happen. Wishing won't make it so. If wishes were horses, beggars would ride. You got to see what's coming and what is, and we're not taking it back to where